this man is saying, didn't have to be here.
Hello there and welcome back to Midlife Rises and Cheryl. Something that I did a few years ago, I want to do a part 2. And it's basically covering the life of a midlife woman and how we respect ourselves, how we should respect ourselves, and be aware. This channel covers things that no one else likes to do, but we like to keep it real. We touch base with things that others sweep under the carpet. It's not easy for us midlife women. We are middle-aged, and when we get to a certain point, it's like we are defective. We are considered obsolete. But that's society. It's what do you think? And to not be brainwashed, I'll be covering a few things, but what I'm going to kind of set the focus on is what we go through as middle-aged women in terms of our relationship with men in our age groups. And what we should be mindful of is how you are going to keep the right mindset, how you're going to stay balanced and healthy. You cannot have anything around that is sucking the life out of you, however you want to say the life, the energy, whatever, your strength. You need that. We have a lot of things that we face, abusive adult children, but I'm not going to touch base with that. I'm going to touch base with our personal lives because that's where we're at right now. If we did have children, we're done with that. And so we need to be centered and we need to take care of ourselves. The way to go about it is to make sure that we keep our focus, our consciousness is in place, and we are mindful of letting the wrong individuals into our lives that will be parasitic. Because let me tell you, the fact that you're growing older is a weapon for a lot of men in our age group. It is a weapon. So if you fall for that, you're going to wind up being with someone that's abusive, and a lot are unstable. They're unstable because of things that occurred in their lives up to the midlife years, or they came out of a failing relationship, marriage, what have you, and you are the culprit. A lot of these candidates, they want to continue to romance whatever pain they're feeling. And so you need to not be in the presence of someone that is living their lives like that, because if you've worked up to this point as myself, where you're keeping your focus, you are being conscious of trying to keep your morals and your self-respect and so on, why give it up at this point to someone that did not do the work? I'm going to make a few runs, but when I get back, I'm going to sit and talk with you. And I'd like to have better setting, moonlight setting to kind of set the scenery so that we can be more relaxed. So I will be with you in a different setting in just a little bit.
Why couldn't they just let me be, let me be, let me be, let me be? One room shack on the alley back. Control, I'm told, from across the track. Where is the mayor who make all things fair? He lives outside our polluted air. And I didn't have to be here. You didn't have to love for me while I was just a nothing child. Why couldn't they just let me
Came out a little late, but I did want to have that finished. I wanted to have the outside background. It's really nice out today. I also wanted to give it a little twilight background. I thought that would be kind of nice. So I hope you are all doing well. We're still dealing with COVID, so try to, take precaution and stay healthy. On this channel, we try to cover real life stuff that happens in midlife. A lot of the topics no one else will dare to do. A few years ago, we did a woman-to-woman talk show. Today, I'd like to do part 2 of that. one of the things that I'd like to pay attention to is our ages and exactly what we go through. Because of society, most of us are inclined to not discuss it. I mean, some will even go as far as not discussing their birth date, if you can imagine that, just to evade discussing how old they really are. It's funny because we're not aging at the same level, right? Our age is one thing, but our mindset is another. And what I'm finding from my studies, because you know I do have psychology background, is that a lot of us are not progressing as we should. In other words, we're not growing as we age, as we advance in age. It's no one's business, but it's something that we have been taught to not discuss. You know, it's like the bad word, and I would mention my age in a heartbeat, and it would be like, oh my God, did you hear what she just said? Oh, she said the bad word. But I just don't think about it at this stage. I and others like myself who will freely discuss their ages, I think we're on a different mindset now. For me, I'm thinking more or less about what's next. What else can I learn? I like to challenge myself, and I am still learning. So that's why I'm not really thinking, you need to hide your age now. I'm not thinking that. I'm more or less thinking to challenge myself on what else I can learn and how much more I can grow, and to just be conscious of the way I treat others and so on. That's my mindset. So I'm not thinking about hiding my age, because at this point in time, I'm pretty much comfortable, in my skin. I have 3 boys, and my first son is 40 years old now. Whether or not I look like I'm 40, the point is I'm just about 20 or 21 years older than my son. So, I'm proud of that and other things that I've accomplished. I feel good within myself. So when I say I'm feeling good within my skin, it means that I'm comfortable so far in all that I am trying to accomplish and what I have done so far. So I'm not on that mindset. And the way society is, and it's probably always been like that, times have changed. A woman's place is no longer in the home and the man be the breadwinner and so on. You have a lot of successful women today. You have a lot that are entrepreneurs, executives in the corporate world, just taking control of things. And that's a problem for a lot of men. So what are we working with in terms of our love life and just life on the whole as a woman, a middle-aged woman, whether we are married, we're single, we're businesswomen, just what are we playing with in terms of our partners in life? One of the things that I'd like to talk about is what are our men doing, like what part men are playing in where we are today. Because I know that we are defined, and this is men and women, people define you by, what degree you have, your salary, what you do for a living, and no one is thinking about character and morals and integrity and empathy. No one's thinking about that. And that is why we pay so much attention to what we call emotional intelligence, because this thing is so very important for our self-growth, our self-worth, values, that kind of thing. When you have a sense of who you are, when you are in control of your emotions, then you can pay attention to a lot of things. I'm not in that area per se, but I can tell you our emotional state makes up more than 50% of us, I will say, has a lot to do with our growth. That's why I think emotional intelligence is so very important. For me, I think it should be taught like the ABC, because there are things that we have to get used to. Growing older, advancing in age, if you will, and not growing as that happens can take its toll. We're all aging. If you're not aging, that means that you are not breathing. It's happening to all of us. We are all advancing in age. But let's talk about where a middle-aged woman's part is in this thing. And what I want to target are the men in our lives and how we go about having a healthy relationship. Because from a woman's aspect, and I put myself through a lot. I do a lot of experiential empathy And that is to put yourself through things so that you can have the experience. Because if you're not having experiences, then you don't have a testimony. Because what are you talking about, right? If you're not having moments, then you're not really growing. That's why they say the narrow road is a lot better than the highway. Because if you're taking the easy way, then later on, you might not be built. You know, again, it's that term. There was a saying in one of the quotes that I get, the highest climb has the better view. And so it all intertwines. If you're not having experiences, if you're not having challenges and prevailing, then you're not really building, you're not growing. You're just going to be stagnant. So when you get to this stage, which is midlife, what are we talking about? And so I'm going to talk about how I see it with my psychology background and for the research that I've done, the real life experiences that I've had. I am going to sit and tell you what I think about what I'm looking at this point. And one of the reasons why I discuss my age so openly is because I feel comfortable at this point on where I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm trying to do. You know, I might not look my age. I have 3 grown sons, one of which is 40 years old. And I will comfortably say that, and then the next question will be, well, how old are you? When did you have him? At 15? No, I had him when I was 20 years old. So, you know, I can talk about that and other things that's going on with me because I'm not defined by material things. I'm not defined by what degree I had or what I'm trying to do. I'm just me, and I'm confident. I have self-worth. I have enough awareness, self-awareness to understand my place in this world. And so with that, I'm cautious on everything that I do. We talk a lot about emotional intelligence here, and as I said, our emotional state is responsible for a lot of things that we do, what we go through, our decisions that we make, how we carry ourselves. It has a lot to do with emotions. But I'm just going to talk now about the single woman, the one who's looking for her other half, and how we are perceived when we are not there yet. I got married very early. I got married at the age of 19, and I learned certain things about myself, about life and my husband. I do a lot of exploring, and it's not just about what makes me happy and, you know, what I want to do next and stuff. It's what do I want for myself at this point in time as a partner. I can't talk for everyone, but for me, I think that we should not be judging. We should not judge anyone. They said you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and I think society does that, and it is also responsible for a lot of the wrong moves that we make, trying to, you know, get ahead of whatever caused by the crabs in a barrel thing, and losing yourself, you know, your self-values and morals and stuff to get there, and using, you know, what degree you have and all of that sort of stuff to get your respect. I think that the way respect is given, it needs to be earned, and not by someone's degree, how much money they make. I just want to talk about a few things now that I've observed. I do a lot of, you know, contract work, and I went and I met a gentleman that was from the same country as myself. And he started to question me on what degree I had, what skills, what do I have so far. And he would tell me, you know, yeah, I'm an attorney, I have this and I have that. But this person had no manners, the basic common stuff. Absolutely no manners. He started cursing, and when I asked him to be a little more respectful, he was going on about I don't need to deal with him after this, and I'll be dealing with his assistant. And my point is, yeah, but she works for you, and we are going to interact at some point, and I'd like to have that respect. And he just kept on to the point where I had to get up, take my business card, and say goodbye. And that is how I go about it, because to me, that is what I look at. I don't want to hear about what degree you have, you know, how much money you're making, what is your position, what kind of job you're doing. It doesn't matter. You can be the president of the United States. If you don't have any manners, then you do not have my respect, and we don't need to interact. That is the way I go about it. And so, I'm quite sure there are a few like me, but for us to sit back and say, oh, this one isn't married, something is wrong with her, or this one is single and she hasn't had somebody, this one doesn't have a child, and that is how I think we get ourselves caught up in problems. That is why I think a lot of us are in situations now where we're dealing with, arranged marriages. We are losing our self-respect to hold on to someone just to look normal. Our self-confidence are down. And so I want to talk about this today because our focus is wrong, right? Our focus is so off base. And it's one thing for society to beat us off. And I'm talking to women now. I'm directing this to the women because there are a good percentage that are not conscious of the way they behave. And they are obnoxious where a man would not want to be around them for too long. They'll go and do what they have to do and then they'll move on. But that's just a group. There are the other parts. What do we have available to us? Like I said, I discuss my age because I'm comfortable within my skin. I like where I am in my life right now. I feel like for the time that I've been around, I've made use of it. I've spent time learning about me and what I need to be doing to show respect to others, to respect myself, to have my self-value in place, and so on and so on. And with that, I will comfortably discuss my age. But I think that a lot of us, we have the wrong mindset. And we're not moving at the same pace. But that's okay because we're all individuals. But it is not my place to say, this is your age and you should be in this place. That is not anyone's business to look at someone else and say that. And so now I'd like to talk about what we have available to us in terms of our men at this stage in life where we are middle age, because, it's a different time. Women are not just in the household. We have a lot of ambitious women that are entrepreneurs. Some are holding down executive positions in the corporate world, just doing their thing, as you would say. A lot did not take time to have children. A lot did not take time to get married. And maybe now they want to do it. And so they're looking for the right one that will, pair them off energy-wise and, just to have a healthy relationship. And that today is very difficult. And I will tell you why. When we get up to midlife years, we are not just growing, we're not just getting there. We have situations, we have experiences, negative ones, challenges, we have traumas. And a lot of us are not, especially when it takes place in our childhood. If we are not versed, and there we go with the emotional intelligence again, if we are not versed on what we need to take care of to get past these traumas, whether it's rape or molestation, mental, physical abuse, it could be any of those things. If we are not working to build ourselves as an individual, doing that self-talks, having that me time, having that faith, praying and understanding that we are not fully controlling things, that there is someone higher than us that are guiding us and watching over things. If we're not conscious of these categories, then we will want to believe that we are controlling everything and that we can just sweep it under the rug and it'll go away. And it does not work like that. So what we end up doing is sabotaging. We self-inflict, whether it's drug abuse, alcohol. It could even be from the woman's side of just being out in the streets, going from one man to the next to get what they want, especially if we're attractive. And that does not fix anything. Men, on the other hand, they are not interested in going for therapy. They're just not interested. I was born in the islands. I was raised here in the US, but I know that island men in particular are not interested in going for therapy because in their minds, they're not crazy. But therapy is not for someone that is crazy. It's because you need to talk about things that are in your subconscious. And if you want to drown it by getting stoned every day or getting yourself wasted, you have to be sober at some point in time, and that will be right there to terrorize you when you come to. So the best thing is to deal with these things, and praying, of course, head on and get rid of it. You know, we're not talking psychiatrists. Psychiatrists will medicate. But if you go to a psychologist, then you can talk about your issues and they will give you methods on trying to work it out before it gets out of hand. But what happens is we will not talk to anyone about it. We will either get married or we'll get out there when we reach of age, and we will just be running around and taking that out on other people. And the way it comes out is by anger and bitterness. Some of us develop, and I don't know enough about it, because I actually learned about narcissism later on, and I did a lot of psychology courses, but narcissism is something that I was not aware of. But I know that it can develop from, childhood. What I'm not sure of is if you are born with it. Now, I'm going to talk about that a little later on, but from these traumas and experiences, negative, bad experiences that we have as we're growing into adulthood, these things will come back and attack us in the form of anxiety and depression. I mean, I myself had issues with anxiety. It wasn't, not for nothing, but anxiety can also attack you when your body's in overload, which is what was happening to me. Because I have a lot that sometimes I push myself a little too much, and the way your body works, that's the way it tells you you've got to take it down a couple of notches. But going back on track, anxiety and depression, bipolar issues, it's a lot of mental problems that you can start experiencing if you don't take care of these childhood issues. And I'm saying childhood, but it can happen when you get into adulthood. From a marriage, from a bad marriage that is not working and you're just continuing on, it can happen from there. But the point is, when you are aware that there are some hidden problems, you need to seek help, because it's not going to go away and you're just going to be running around and hurting others. And so why I'm discussing this is because when you look at a woman who is very attractive, I remember a friend of mine saying, "Why aren't you with anyone? There's nothing wrong with you." Oh, I know that. And that's exactly why you should not lose your self-respect, overlook your self-values and self-worth, and lower your standards to accommodate someone with bad behavior. And that is what we are up against as middle-aged women at this point in time. So when you look at a woman that's by herself or is single, living a single life, you need to really think about it, because this is not like when we were in our teenage years and, our opposite sex did not have an experience, they haven't started life yet. No, what we are dealing with are maybe divorced men who were in a very bad situation and is looking for someone to pay for what they went through. We are dealing with men that are not coping with the childhood traumas, men that have godly complexes. It's a lot of issues. And if you are balanced and centered and you have these as choices, where does that leave you? So you see the problem. I'm not saying that there are some women that just naturally cannot hold a man, but you do have a good bit that are very cautious on what they are putting themselves in. Because at the end of the day, we are all looking to be happy, and no one wants to be abused. No one wants to be taken advantage of. Like for me, I'm happy in my life. I am happy when I'm single, and I'm happy when I'm seeing someone. I'm experienced now. I know what I deserve, I know what I'm worthy of, and I understand my self-values. And so I always want to make sure when I'm seeing someone that I'm matched up with the right person, and as far as tying the knot, I don't mind being married, because when I'm with someone, I'm with them. Even as a young woman, I have never went with a man for what he can give to me, and I do not throw my body around. I'm very particular on my tempo. I maintain my self-respect, and I want that back. I need to be seeing that. You have a lot of brokenness out here, and it goes back to what I'm saying on us not dealing with the hurt that we feel inside. And believe it or not, hurting people hurt others. Some, they make it a thing. So a lot of island men, the way that they love, the way they want to see that you love them is by allowing them to take advantage of you. And it's okay because you love them. But that's not the way it's supposed to be in my book. It's got to be equal, give and take, and the respect has to be there. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I think that when you have your self-values and your self-respect, and you should not allow at any point in time for anyone to rob that from you. I don't care if you're 99 years of age. That's why the me time is important to spend with yourself, because when you do that, you get to understand who you are, what you stand for, what it is that you will accept, what you deserve, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You should not lower your standards for anyone, because I think when you lose respect for yourself, that's it. And I remember years back, my mother, I don't remember why she said it to me, but she said, when you lose your self-respect, that's it. You don't ever get that stuff back. And you have a lot of women that are going to all lengths to make sure that a man stays in place. You will not believe how far this is going. And, to each his own. But to me, if you have any kind of self-confidence, self-value, you will not be taking that route. You will know who you are as an individual, and you will stand your grounds so that that respect stays in place and you have that peace and harmony. Relationships on a whole is not easy. You have different, likes and stuff, but it's wonderful when you have that perfect match. I love being in love, and I don't go for anything more than love. When you love yourself, to me, is the only way you can give healthy love. And I'm not talking about being conceited and saying, I'm too good for this. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having that self-love, understanding what you're bringing to the table. I spent a lot of time paying attention to certain things that I feel are important in a relationship. And I am not looking to just give that out and, play games with anyone. I'm talking about healthy relationships. The only way you can have those is when you have someone that is on the same level with you in terms of your beliefs, your understanding, and the respect level, open line of communication, integrity, and it's just, mature. And that's important to me. You have to feel good when you think about the person you're seeing. If you're not getting good feelings and you're feeling pain and agony, then something is very wrong. Okay? And I'm not talking about, occasional meetings and stuff. I'm talking about a real relationship. Not getting to know someone and looking to see if you can have that. I'm talking about the relationships that you are in. Whatever relationship you have, it needs to be one where you're feeling that magic. That's when you know. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about now is key pointers to look for, because this is important. One of the things that I feel we need as women who are working with a relationship, whether it's a marriage or someone you're looking to spend your life with as a partner, you need to look for certain pointers. I can tell you from past experiences and what I know, from my studies, is that we have different kinds of men. We have the ones that are living with these traumas or the bitterness from their past life. And, you've got to be able to identify that, because you're not going in a relationship to be abused, right? You should already be whole. That person should be adding to the pie, not taking away from it. So I'm giving you now a few pointers that you need to look at and to understand that these kinds of relationships, you're fighting a losing battle. You cannot be with someone that is living with anger and bitterness from the past. If they're not willing to go and get help, you can't love someone like that, because it will always be a pull and tug, and then abuse, whether it's physical or mental, you are going to experience that. That's one. You can't be with someone that are confused about their sexuality. That is an absolute no-no. And it can come about from, childhood traumas and experiences, whatever. You cannot, once you understand that, you cannot be with someone that is not comfortable with their sexuality. And you can tell, because a lot of these men are what you would call on a down low. And that I can't respect. I mean, if you are bisexual or gay, you need to just come out and say you are. The way the world is now, everybody's open. But you cannot be in a relationship with a man that is confused about his sexuality, because you are going to be abused. And the way you can tell is you're going to be put in competition. These are the things to look for. He's going to try and put you in competition. He's going to try and make you feel bad about yourself. He's going to be pointing out things about you, strange things that you're not expecting someone who is supposed to be your man, your lover, your husband, to be coming at you with. Those are pointers that you can look for. I have been on online dating. I have tried that. I think it's a good idea. We are very busy a lot of times, and with COVID and everything else, sometimes you don't get a chance to get out and socialize as you should. So you'd go online. I've been turned on to that a few years ago by a guy that used to help me with my talk show. Also have to understand what you're dealing with that as well, because a lot of these men are married. A lot of them are trying to be God's gift to women. I'm just saying that's one of the options you have, and things that you need to look for with that. What I found is you're getting a cell number or they're texting and they don't want to call. That's a red flag, okay? That is an absolute red flag. The other thing too is like younger men. I found that when I was on the sites, sometimes when I'm on, I would have men that are my son's age. And I'm not into younger men. I mean, I might look a little younger than I am, but I don't need to do that to prove anything to myself. I need to have someone that is on the same level in the sense of experiences and stuff. I mean, I can go a few years younger. It can't be just based on sex. It has to be intellectual and all the other items that will keep the relationship going. Because you go with a man that is way too young, he hasn't started his life yet, what are you doing? Unless you're, what do they call it, an nymphomaniac, then I can see that happening. And it's okay for Hollywood and stuff, but everyday life, I'm not into that. So last but not least, what I'd like to talk about now is the narcissistic men. And, I've heard that term after I learned about it by, they'd say, well, Trump is narcissistic and, he's a narcissist and this and that. Most people would think, oh, a narcissist is someone that thinks they're better than anybody and stuff like that. But let me tell you, there's a lot more to this thing than meets the eye, okay? You have to be very, very careful when you are dealing with people that have this disorder, because it is someone that needs supply. And the supply would be to blow your top so you can react. And when you react, that's their supply. I've heard that a lot of people who were in relationships with a narcissist will have to have therapy. That is how bad it is. Why it's dangerous and why I'm talking to you about this today, and I also did it in part 1, but I'd like to touch base with it a little today, because we're in the stage of our lives where we understand what we're looking for. I mean, most of us, right? We know that we want a healthy relationship. We want communication. We want, to be treated as a woman and so on. And if you're not able to pick up that you're dealing with someone with this disorder, you can be so excited because from what I understand, they start out showing you everything they know you're looking for. And then later on, you crash land. That's where the therapy comes in. So I'm just saying what you need to look for with this person is they will provoke you a lot. There will be a lot of provocation just to get a reaction out of you. And it goes deeper than that. If you're not willing to do what they want, they will go to all lengths to lie on you, to ruin your reputation, and it just goes down the line. So you need to be aware so that you'll understand because, I had someone that is very dear to me that I knew had those disorders. And so I dealt with him in a different kind of way because it's someone I've known in my teenage years, and I'm very fond of that person. And that's the only one that I will tolerate. Because when I meet someone, it takes 3 months for me to understand what I'm dealing with. And a lot of men that I meet and I see certain signs, that's it. There's only that one person that I will tolerate. The others, I'm not doing that because the thing is, your emotions, your mind, you need that. And when you are dealing with someone with this kind of disorder, it is a different ball game. You have to be very, very careful. You have to understand what you're dealing with. And for me, even with others that are not narcissistic, that I'm considering dating, and they show me a side that I feel like, oh no, I put on punishment because that's what I do. That is what I'm used to doing with my boys. And, the funny thing about relationships, I'm a mother, I was a wife and a mother in a home. And if you're bringing out the maternal instinct, then you can't see a partner. You're going to see the maternal part of me. I'm going to react. And I can't be with someone that I have to have like a child. A lot of women can do it. I'm not one of them. If I can't respect you as a man, then we cannot have a relationship. This is what is hindering a lot of women today from being married, from being in a healthy relationship. Our men are not maturing. And the ones that are narcissistic, that's a disorder. So we can use that as an excuse a little bit, but you actually have men that actively belittle women, abuse women mentally, and it's all to make themselves feel good. And if you're a proud woman like myself, you understand what you want, what you're looking for, what you need, you're not going to tolerate that, and you shouldn't. Now, I know for a fact that it's more than 50% of women that are, and they're doing stuff also. I'm not sitting here and saying that they're all innocent. You have a lot of women that are putting a wire behind a man's back and winding it up and having him like a remote control because they're the ones controlling. And that we can't blame anyone but the men. The women are supposed to know they shouldn't do that, but who knows what kind of mindset, and we're going back to the morals and integrity, the emotional intelligence part, what state of mind they're in, why they're even behaving like that. And you do have narcissistic men and women. I can't tell you about the women, but I have interacted with one or two of the men with these disorders, and it's very sad. But if you understand the sickness, then you need to be careful. You won't have a healthy relationship with someone like this. A tiger, you can have it as a pet, but it is still a tiger. Same thing with the snake. That is what it is. It is what it is. You cannot change it. Can they love? I think so. How they love, that much I can't put my finger on. but I knew someone. This is a very sweet person. Or I would not have been, interacting with him. But there is another side, a very deceitful and vindictive side. As long as you understand what you're dealing with, then you know how to move. But it's not easy. It is not easy as a middle-aged woman out here. But I would say keep your confidence, maintain your self-respect, and know your self-worth. That stuff is super important. And, everything else will just work itself out. And you don't have to worry about who's thinking what society. The point is you understand who you are, what you stand for, what you need. And that's all that's important, because at the end of the day, you need to be comfortable within your skin. You need to keep your confidence. And you will not be able to stay healthy physically and mentally by having someone that's emotionally unstable around you. It's just not going to work. Okay? I have a lot that I still want to do, and I want to be healthy. I want to stay healthy mentally and physically, and I want to love. I want to always be able to love, and anger and bitterness doesn't have any place in my life. It cannot have any place in my life, and I take the steps that I need to maintain this fruit of the Spirit. Because when you are putting yourself through these things to look good to the outside, you are just setting yourself up for sickness, diseases, discomforts, unhappiness, bitterness, and just lack of peace. And do you really want to go that route? I'm sorry, I can't relate to that. You know your answer. But all I want to say is learn and grow and pay attention to what you need so that you can make it to your golden years, God's willing, and do it with a smile instead of just giving up your life. By the time you turn around, you'll be an older woman. I mean, now you're middle-aged, but you'll be an older woman. And do you really want to give it up like that? I can't imagine why you would want to. Okay? Anyways, that's my take on that. Again, try to stay safe with the COVID. We come on the first and third Thursday of each month at 7:30. There are other times too, I think 1:30 on a Tuesday. We'd like to hear what your experiences are, what you are experiencing in your midlife. So drop us a line at info@midliferises.com. Thanks for sitting with me. Check your local listing for the channels, and we will see you next time. Okay? You take care now. Bye. Hello there, I'm Cheryl. So I normally just do a 28-minute sector, but this time I went over and I figured, okay, I'll just move to the hour, but it wasn't fully that time slot, and so I had to come back and kind of fill it in. So here I am. I'm trying to give you the same scenery, except it's a different ball game out here tonight. But to pick up on what I was talking about, I was just pointing out as midlife women what we need to be mindful of, the things that we need to pay attention to just keep ourselves healthy. And just to reiterate, being your authentic self will help with that. And the way you accomplish these things are to do the me time, spend time with yourself, understand what your likes and dislikes are, build your emotional intelligence. Because when you do that, you can protect yourself against, as I had pointed out before, ones that are walking around with unhealthy egos, others that are not coping with their personal battles in the right manner and is just looking for someone to take it out on. I mean, we're all individuals. We are all beautiful in our own way. Yeah, the winter it's coming, all right. We all have something to offer. We are all beautiful beings. That's what makes us individuals, So being yourself and understanding who you are is going to help a lot. There's a quote I saw one time, be yourself because everyone else is taken. I absolutely love that saying. It's so on point. But the things that I was saying to look out for, these are items that's going to help you to maintain your mental health, because you need that. Your mind is everything. I think we pay way too much attention to who is doing what. We're all running after that clout. I don't have time for looking to see who's doing what, because I'm too busy creating my own story. My parents weren't together, but one of the things that I noticed that they both mocked each other on is they were like chameleons. They knew how to roll with the punches. They can adjust to any environment. And if I didn't pick up anything else from them, I learned that. Because when you are being yourself, your authentic self, you teach people how to treat you. You know your self-worth. You understand exactly what you need to make yourself happy, and no one can take that away from you. Going about your life that way gives us that space to understand what rock we should be standing on. Because believe it or not, we are not in full control of things. There is someone out there that is bigger than us, and at some point in time, you do get arrested spiritually to understand that you are not in full control, which is one of the reasons why I pay strict attention to the way in which I treat others. It's very important, and a lot of people don't think that they will be held accountable for the wrong that they do, but it does come back around. For us women, as I said before, stand your grounds, maintain your self-respect. When you lose that, that's it. We are way too busy, in trying to beat down one another so much that most of us will, trap ourselves in staged lives, arranged relationships. In the long run, who are we hurting? Pay attention to you and live your life in the moment in peace and harmony. You have to fight for that these days. Our happiness is our divine right, and as I stated, I shared with you how I react to individuals with godly complexes who's walking around with unhealthy egos and just downright bullies. I don't tolerate it. Stand your grounds, fight for your peace and happiness. That is your divine right. Some of us are so inclined with pain, agony, and discomfort. Why give up your peace and harmony for someone who doesn't want to know anything about that? I said it before, I'll say it again. Don't let anyone rob you of your self-respect and confidence. Okay? So hopefully I filled the gap. We are approaching the holidays. You might not be in the US where you have Thanksgiving, although Thanksgiving should be given every day. We do have a holiday for that where we enjoy family and turkey and so on. But if you are not, then we'll touch base again before the holidays, the Christmas season. But this time of the year is my absolute favorite. I'm not into the cold weather too much, but I like the Christmas season. If you're in a warmer climate, I'm jealous. Thanks again for sitting with me, and all the best to you and your family for the holidays. Okay, take care now. Bye. One of my younger sisters came into town and took me to see the Michael Jackson show. I'm going to use this to complete this video. The info that I just shared is very important because too often we overlook what is disturbing us in our subconscious mind, and that hinders us, believe it or not, from our true happiness in our adult life. And I just want to stress again how very important the me times are. What that does is it gives us a chance to identify with our inner issues, our inner voices. That's if we are, receptive to listening to what we have to say. It's important to be paired up with someone who is grounded and who will be responsible with your heart. Because again, you can't be with anyone parasitic that's going to have you on an emotional roller coaster. That is not healthy. So you just have to be mindful of these issues that I've pointed out in this video, and you'll be good to go. Our talk show, Midlife Rises, is really geared around midlife women. I mean, we touch base with midlife, but it is a woman's talk show. So a lot of times the topics are addressing midlife women. The pairing up with men and women are not as simple as it was years back. It's very challenging now because, as I mentioned earlier, we are dealing with experiences, bad ones, And a lot of us are not coping as we should. So for someone who is grounded, it's a little challenge to be paired up with someone who is following that same rhythm. It's not impossible, but it is challenging. You want to be consistent in your peace and happiness. And in order to do that, you've got to be paying attention. You've got to know what you're dealing with. I can speak for all when I say women, we want to be with someone that's going to be responsible with our hearts, a good custodian. And if you're seeing issues, then you need to pay attention to that. If you're looking to flourish in your midlife years and go through the golden years with a smile, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to take the proper steps, to get there. And that entails maintaining your self-respect and knowing your self-worth. Okay, thanks again for sitting with me. We come on every first and third Thursday of the month at 7:30. We look forward to seeing you again. Okay, take care now. Bye.
Would rip her, but I love her so. Love her so.